And hello, Jets fans, and welcome to another episode of Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program today. We have a lot to talk about, and the first thing was going to be just Nathaniel Hackett, but it has been revealed that the Jets home opener has been revealed, and I'm sorry, not the home opener, but the season opener for 2025, and it will be on primetime Monday Night Football. I'll give all my thoughts, reaction on that, but first, we will start with the main story on Nathaniel Hackett. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and make sure to comment down below if you're joining us after the live stream. And if you're joining us during this live stream, of course, please put in your thoughts. So, Nathaniel Hackett, just when you thought the Jets, and it's funny with the Jets because I get this fan base's frustration because you want to look at the positives because throughout this week, it was actually really good news. You kept looking and it seemed like every minute the Jets were signing another draft pick when we're so used to these contracts going down to the wire to training camp and going over the language of contracts. But Olu Fashanu's locked up. The running backs are locked up. Jordan Travis is locked up. Seemingly pretty much every draft pick the Jets have made has signed their contracts. And then all of a sudden through the woodwork, we get the Nathaniel Hackett story. Now, I think that the story's getting slightly overblown, but I want to give my thoughts. Because Connor Hughes is a reporter I greatly respect, and he has a lot of great sources, and he put out that the Jets wanted to replace Hackett this offseason and that they were actively trying. But here's the thing, and a lot of people are like, wow, the Jets are dysfunctional. Wow, I can't believe this. Oh my God, this is breaking news. We've known this since January. They've made a point saying that they wanted to bring in someone to this offensive staff, that they wanted another offensive mind in here. But the problem with this is that I think is getting overblown is everyone's saying, I can't believe the Jets didn't replace Hackett. There's a big elephant in the room. How are they going to replace Nathaniel Hackett? The Jets, unfortunately, have made their bed. They have to lie on it. And yes, as a Jet fan, am I concerned about Nathaniel Hackett? Absolutely. Do I consider this offense in trouble with Nathaniel Hackett? Absolutely. Do I worry about the development of some of these players with this offensive staff? You bet. But here is the issue that I look at. And when you really look at the whole picture, it makes sense. The Jets were stuck with Nathaniel Hackett for at least one more season. He wasn't going anywhere. And the problem was the best the Jets could do is maybe get someone to come in as a supervisor role. Maybe bring in someone to basically be a sounding board. Other than that, they weren't getting anyone. And there's multiple reasons. And my favorite thing is everyone, of course, reacting on Twitter going, oh my God, I can't believe the Jets couldn't replace Nathaniel Hackett. How are they going to replace Nathaniel Hackett? And number two, and I think this is the most important reason, who is coming in to replace him? Because unfortunately, the Jets' job for offensive coordinator isn't a good one right now for multiple reasons. Number one, it's clear this coaching staff is on the hot seat. And if they don't make the playoffs or a significant run, everyone's getting fired. So why would you take an offensive coordinator job with at most 1 year job security at this point? Number two, you have to work with Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, wants to run the offense a certain way. Now, it's been reported by Connor Hughes that there was trouble back in camp when basically Rodgers would call his own plays and disagree with Hackett, which, again, I trust Aaron Rodgers to make the calls at the line of scrimmage. I trust that Aaron Rodgers is a veteran. This is how he wants to run the team, and probably wanted Hackett because he could have this control of the offense. So when I look at this Jet team right now, I just look at the frustration, and I get the biggest issue probably with the offensive line, but I would say up there is Nathaniel Hackett making play calling. And look, the play calling last year left a lot to be desired. But for people saying, I can't believe the Jets didn't replace him, who were they going to replace him with? No one was taking this job with the job security. No one was taking this job with the quarterback situation. And no one was going to take this job and keep Nathaniel Hackett around. Like, there was no way. If the Jets fired Nathaniel Hackett, let's play the hypothetical game. The Jets in January say, you know what, Nathaniel Hackett, you were absolutely atrocious, which everyone knows. We want a new OC. Who's coming in to take the OC? Your options are limited because the best candidates are not coming in because you've gone through two OCs in 2 years. You have an old veteran quarterback. And on top of that, pretty much it's a well-known open secret. If the Jets don't do well, everyone's getting fired at the end of the year. So why would anyone come in and take that job if you fired Hackett? Now, I think the Jets did, unfortunately, what was probably the best case situation, which is to keep Nathaniel Hackett. Now, people are going to say, but he's terrible. I agree. But the problem is, do you bring someone in new to try to learn a whole new system in one season? Someone that's going to butt heads with Aaron Rodgers for a season. As bad as Nathaniel Hackett is, the best thing for the Jets this year is to follow through. Who knows? Maybe Hackett's bad again. He gets 2 years, and at the end of the season, the Jets have some job security because they made the playoffs, and all of a sudden, you might have an offensive coordinator that makes more sense for Aaron Rodgers, or maybe looks and goes, well, I get to work with Rodgers for a year, but I'm really excited because I get to work with Jordan Travis or a young quarterback coming up. Those are the things you have to look at. And unfortunately for the Jets, I think that they had to go with Hackett, and I get it. Hackett's terrible, and I'm just waiting to read the comments on this post saying Hackett stinks, Hackett should be fired. And look, in the grand scheme of things, Nathaniel Hackett shouldn't be the offensive coordinator. He should be fired. But this is one of those common cliches where we always use the grass is greener on the other side. And unfortunately for the Jets, there's not a whole lot of green grass on the other side, because either way you slice it, you're either not getting a good enough candidate because of the job status, or basically, even if you kept Hackett and you brought someone else in, could that cause even more strife in the coaching room? Because you're going to have maybe two different opinions. Maybe they want two different play calls. Maybe one is appeasing to Rodgers more, and Rodgers likes Hackett because he's more agreeable, even though the other OC has potentially a better play call. So the Jets have a lot to talk about. And here's the thing. I think the Hackett thing, and I get it, it's frustrating because of the time. It's another negative story about the Jets. But here's the thing. It wasn't going to change. I think the Jets did the right thing. They were looking to try to bring in someone to add to this offensive staff. But the problem is, no one's really going to take that role. It's going to be someone that the best case scenario is that maybe someone that's retired can come in and maybe be a consultant. But outside of that role, who are you going to bring in to be a co-offensive coordinator, an assistant offensive coordinator, a play caller? It just wasn't going to realistically work. Now, I also want to shift gears too, because the Jets, as it has been announced today, we don't know the schedule, but it is clear that the Jets are going to open the season on Monday Night Football again, and it will be at San Francisco against the 49ers. Now, certain hosts have said that this is a punishment for the New York Jets, that this is basically to get Aaron Rodgers out of everyone's system, and this is to punish the Jets. I don't look at it that cynically. I think that this is a game where, when you look at it, it's a exciting game. It's a game where Rodgers obviously has history versus the 49ers when he was with Green Bay. You have the solid connection to that coaching staff. And here's the silver lining. Is it the hardest game of the season, and is it something you don't want to start the season 0-1 if you're the New York Jets? Absolutely not. Is it tough when you have to go 3,000 miles out there to play Monday Night Football and then have a short week coming back? Absolutely. But here's my thing. I would rather have the Jets get this out of the way early than later in the season. Now, I get the thought process of playing in San Francisco later in the season. Maybe you can get off of a bye. Maybe you play San Francisco when they're banged up. Maybe this offensive line has more cohesion on the offensive unit. There's a lot that could happen, because I do think the Jets are one of those teams that there's going to be a lot of moving parts. You still have Rodgers, who still hasn't played more than 4 plays with this team, that there's going to be a lot of slowness when this team starts this next year. And would you like the layup early in the season? Absolutely. I'm a little surprised they didn't do the Bills. I'm a little surprised they didn't do the AFC for the Jets. And look, I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole, because, again, I saw one certain analyst, a national one, saying it's a conspiracy theory because the Jets, they want to get Aaron Rodgers off of TV because he's, quote, controversial. Last time I checked, quarterbacks push the ratings. And the other thing, too, with the National Football League, the Giants are kind of in a rebuilding year. So you would think that they, I don't know, maybe want to tap the number one media market in the world. Anyways, I look at this and go, yes, it is tough because you're going to San Francisco. But to me, this is the hardest game on the Jets schedule. This is on the road. It's against a great NFC West team, and you get it out of the way. Yes, would I be happier if the Jets had more of a layup week one? Would I be happier if the Jets had a home game week one? Absolutely, I would be. But my biggest thing is with the schedule is, yes, I know when you start a season 0-2 or 0-1 and everyone starts to freak out because of that. But my biggest thing is this is a team that you play the hardest game, you get out of your system early. And the other thing too is I think that one thing that's getting overblown is the Jets defense. Everyone's basically going like, "Oh, the Jets offense is going to have struggles in that first game." Well, Jets also are bringing a pretty good defense on the road too. So the way I look at it is I'd rather get the Monday night game out of the way early. I'd rather get the 49ers out of the way early. And yes, is it tough? Did you want to lay up? Absolutely. But the thing is, the Jets also have 9 road games because of the 17 game schedule. The Jets, I would rather have, in some regards, I would rather have this game be the first game than be an AFC East game. Now, some people are going to say I'm crazy, but here's the thing. I would look at it and go, I'd rather have, if the Jets were to lose an opening game, I'd rather have it be against the NFC and not an AFC team. I'd rather have it be a road game. I'd rather have it be against a non-conference team, and I'd rather have it be against a non-AFC East team. I'd rather have the Jets offensive line have cohesion when they're playing the Bills or the Dolphins. Because here's the thing. Yes, this is, you want to start the season off with a bang. Yes, you want this team to make a statement. But what you really want as a Jet fan is you really want this team to win the AFC East. And how do you win the AFC East? You beat the teams in the AFC East. Now, would I have rather played Buffalo week one? Yes, because I think the Jets match up well against Buffalo. But in the same breath, I'd also rather have an offensive line with multiple new pieces, get some cohesion, and be ready to go by week 2 or week 3 if they were to play an AFC East team. The other interesting factor of this schedule, too, is could this also potentially help the Jets in a weird way? Because when you look at the strength of schedule, believe it or not, the Jets have what many consider, of course, by winning percentage, the 4th easiest schedule. Now, it changes year to year. I get it. It's not a perfect science. But one thing that's very interesting about the Jets' schedule is that they have to play the NFC West this year. Now, if they have to go out there on the West Coast early in the season, yes, it is a 3,000-mile trip. But it's a lot easier when it's week 1 and it's a Monday night game than if you're coming off a short week going out to the West Coast or you're going out there later. I think that this is a thing where the Jets can go out there early, get their time synchronized, get used to the time change slightly. But one thing I was really thinking about is, could the Jets start the season with 2 road games? Now, it wouldn't necessarily be conducive, but the thing I was thinking about is, could this actually be a nice thing for the Jets? Because the Jets play the NFC West this year. We know this. So because of that, could the Jets maybe double dip to start the season and play 2 games on the road? Could they play 2 games out there against the NFC West? So because of that, they have to play the Cardinals on the road this year. Could they potentially play that game out there and play 2 games? Now, again, the Cardinals are a team that I don't think is going to be very good this year. And if the Jets could somehow parlay this, now, again, we don't have the full schedule, but, and I know the Jets fans don't want to wait till week 3 to see this team play at home. But in a weird way, wouldn't it be a good thing for the Jets if they got both the West Coast games out of the way early? Like, let's play a hypothetical. Let's play that they do get the Cardinals in week 2. So the Jets can basically stay on the West Coast for 2 weeks. They don't have to travel back and forth. They can stay out there and they play a team in the Cardinals that I don't think is as great. So then you could look at it and go, okay, the Jets come back. They get the Western games out of their system early. They are hopefully 1-1. They come back. And then when you look at the rest of the schedule, hey, all of a sudden, they have more home games, 8 to road games, 7. And then you look at it and they go, okay, well, they don't have to go on the West Coast. And the furthest they will have to travel for the rest of the season is Minnesota. That is the furthest trip after that West Coast trip. So, do I think that could happen? Potentially. Do I think it's going to happen? I have this feeling the Jets are probably going to be playing home week 2 just to try to balance it out a little bit. But overall, I do think that could be something that plays into the schedule as well. And I get it. There's a lot of people frustrated. I think this is going to be a great game. It's a tough game, but this is the biggest thing for me. This to me is the toughest NFC opponent on their schedule. And I could make the case this is the hardest game on the Jets schedule. And maybe I'm in the minority, but I'd rather get that game out of the way early than have this be a critical game week 15, week 16, with a lot more on the line going forward. Now let's get to some of your comments in here as well. Jacob's in here. What's up, Jacob? Good to hear from you as always. Maria with a couple of comments. Not surprised Hackett could get dumped. Unfortunately, he isn't. Some of the highest rate games last year involved the Jets, Maria. Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. Like, people are like, I can't believe the Jets got Monday night. Well, they have Aaron Rodgers. They're the New York market. They're intriguing. Like, I just get this feeling the Jets are going to have. Now, I don't think they're going to have the amount of primetime games they had last year early. But if I had to put money on it, because Woody loves, especially the primetime games, I have this feeling like if you were to hold a gun to my head today, the Jets have this Monday night game. I would not be surprised if they had at least one Sunday night game. And then I would say they're going to have another primetime game, either a Monday or Sunday. So that gives them 3. And then I think they're going to have one of the holiday games. Now, the Jets had the Black Friday game last year. I could see them potentially getting the Black Friday game again this year, or maybe the Christmas game. Here's my thoughts on the schedules, too. If I was to pick and choose, I would rather have the Jets play the Black Friday game. And I know, we all have mental scars from that game last year. But I would rather have that game because it's a more normalish game and a more normalish schedule than the weird Christmas Day schedule where it's a Wednesday game and then the week before you have to play a Saturday game. I don't want that. If I'm the Jets, I would hope for that Black Friday game. Maybe it takes you out of a Thursday night game, which again, I don't love necessarily. If I had to bet, one of the Jets Bills games is going to be prime time because you're going to have Aaron Rodgers versus, the Bills and Josh Allen. Plus, that was the team that knocked him out last year. There's a lot of games I could see them going with, but the other thing that I think is, it's very interesting because like I just laugh because so many people are just like kicking the Jets. And like my favorite too is like everyone's saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers is a terrible teammate too. Yet he's inviting Malachi Corley to stay with him. But Maria G also points out that he's except the last NFC Championship game there. But I do think he does play well out there. And look, I do think that this is a good thing for the Jets. It's prime time. It's early. And yes, offenses tend to have an advantage early in the season. But this is the other thing I look at too. I'd rather have the hard game out of the way early. I'd rather have it out of the way early, even if it chalks up as a loss for the Jets. I'd rather get this West Coast difficult trip because like when the schedule and the opponents were released and when it was announced the home and away games, I think every Jet fan jumped to the non-conference, not the non AFC East games. And the first thing that jumped out at us, that leapt out at us was, okay, the San Francisco game's going to be tough. On the road, really good team, probably the best team in the NFC. That's going to be a tough one. But then after that, I look at the rest of the Jets' schedule, and I'm not like, oh my God, this is horrifying. And the other thing, too, is people are like, oh my God, they have to go play the 49ers. They're such a good offense. Do I have to remind people that, yes, this defense has new pieces, but this defense also shut down Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen last year? Like, everyone's like making Brock Purdy. And look, I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, but he's not like a Patrick Mahomes. And I just look at the Jets' schedules, and I always do this with the quarterbacks. You look at the matchups, and I know Rodgers is in his 40s and coming off an Achilles, but even the San Francisco game, do I think the 49ers are a better team than the Jets today? Yes. But do I think that Brock Purdy's a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers today? No, I don't think that. And I just look through their road schedule. Like, do I think Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Rodgers? Titans, going to have Will Levis year 2. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray. Steelers, Vikings with J.J. McCarthy. I mean, and then the Jets' home games. Rams, Seahawks, Broncos, Texans, Colts. I mean, I think the best quarterback, I would argue, outside of Josh Allen, the Jets play in the division that they play this year, probably C.J. Stroud. If you had to ask me who the best quarterback they played this year is. All right. But again, guys, comment section is open if anyone wants to chime in. Your thoughts on the Monday night game. And of course, you can always check us out on YouTube in the community page. I put up a poll for you guys. Wanted to test what you thought, what you guys thought. Did you love the fact that they're playing the 49ers? And right now is dead split. Half of you love that they're playing the 49ers to open season, and half of you hate it. But again, guys, comments are open if you want to give your thoughts on that. Or, of course, Nathaniel Hackett, who I talked briefly about to start the video. And look, my biggest takeaway is the Jets are stuck with Nathaniel Hackett. They were stuck from him this year. They weren't going to replace him. They weren't going to get a better option. I just didn't think that they were going to make a big move. And I know a lot of people are reacting, saying, I can't believe it. The Jets tried and failed to replace him. Well, who are they going to replace him with? Who was coming to take the Jets job on a 1 year? No one was coming in to do that. Drones is excited. And look, if the Jets do beat the 49ers, I do think that changes the dynamics of the season. Yeah, it is only one game. But, man, you feel a lot better about this team if they were to go in on the road and make a statement like that early in the season. I think that there is a lot there to do. And, look, even if the Jets don't win, and I hate the whole moral victories thing, but they went out to San Francisco and they played a great game and they looked competitive. Like, that's likely who's coming out of the NFC to represent the NFC for the Super Bowl. And if the Jets go toe-to-toe with that team, especially with an offensive line that's brand new, that's still learning each other, a team that's still trying to figure itself out a little bit as opposed to the 49ers, I think you would feel a lot better going into the season than you would if they hadn't played well. And I just get this feeling that they are a team that can make a statement early. And look, I think it's going to be a heck of a game because Robert Saleh wants to win that game. You know that this staff wants to win that game and kind of stick it a little bit to the 49ers. But look, it's a big draw, and I just love the lazy take. Like, the league is doing this to get Aaron Rodgers out of the way. I guarantee you, when the full schedule is dropped, the Jets are going to be on primetime at least 3 to 4 times this year. And again, if the Jets are a good team and have a winning record and have Aaron Rodgers halfway through the season, and there's playoff implications on the back half, all of a sudden I think the Jets are going to be more in primetime as well. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. My apologies. We're going to try to get some other great Jets content users on the show. Unfortunately, today it didn't work out. I was trying to get one of them on today, but just with my schedule this week, it didn't work out, and I felt horrible. But I promise you, we're going to get some more Jet contributors on the show to debate, talk about the rookies, talk about the outlook for the season, and of course, going through the minicamp and the offseason. But this is Rich Sports Talk. If you're new to the channel, give us a like, give us a subscribe. And if you're joining us after the live stream, of course, comment below. If you have any questions, please put them down there, and I will answer the next questions in the next video. And check out our community page where I have a poll right now. Your thoughts on the Nathaniel Hackett hiring, and also, sorry, not Nathaniel Hackett hiring, on the thoughts on the Jets opening the season against the San Francisco 49ers on the road. All that and more is coming your way here on Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us.